One of the reasons why so many people and so many businesses are falling victim to cybercrime is because the way they think cybercriminals work and the way they really work are quite different. Now, the way most people think cybercriminals work is they go after high-profile targets. So if we're going after a business, we're going to go after a huge multi-billion-dollar business and try to steal hundreds of millions of dollars. Or we're going to go after a high net worth individual and try to empty their bank account. But that's what we want to think. That's sort of what makes great books or Hollywood movies. But that's not the reality. And here's why. Cyber criminals want to make as much money with the least amount of effort possible. They don't want to get caught. They don't want to be noticed, and they want to fly under the radar. So let me ask you a question. If you have a company that's a Fortune 50 company that's making billions upon billions of dollars, how much security do you think they have? Fairly large amount. Right? They have the best in the business. They have the top tier CISOs. They have a large security budget, large infrastructure, large monitoring. Targeting, attacking, and breaking in to those large companies is fairly difficult. Now let's contrast it. A small company that's making $5 million a year. How much are they spending on security? Probably very little, if any. They probably don't have a dedicated security person. They probably don't have 24/7 monitoring, and they might not have a lot of security in place. So now, which one is more likely to be vulnerable? The smaller company. Which one is likely to not detect or catch the attacker? The small company. So now, from an attacker standpoint, I could go after one company that has tons of security and tons of monitoring and try to steal $10 million. Or I could go after 10,000 small companies and steal $200 or $300 from them. Still the same amount, but the latter is much easier, much quicker, and much more effective. And that is the reality today. What we're dealing with today is attackers are going after the smaller companies. They're going after the medium-sized companies. They're going after the companies that might not be able to afford the top-tiered security. A company that's making $5 million cannot invest $20 million in security. A company that's making billions of dollars could invest $20 million in security. So it's one of those things where the smaller the company, in essence, in some cases, the more vulnerable they can be exposed if it's not done correctly. So that's who attackers are targeting a lot more. And the other trick you have to remember is not only that it doesn't matter what size company, how big or how small, you are a target, but they're also doing small amounts so they can fly under the radar. A small to medium-sized business probably is running expenses anywhere from $80,000 to $500,000 a month. So if there's an extra $200 or $300 charge, probably won't be noticed, probably won't be picked up on. Somebody probably is not going to realize that it's happening. So that's what the attackers do. They're not going to go in and steal $100,000. It's hard, it's difficult, there's alerts, there's protections, and you would notice. It would set off a ton of alarms. But if I go in and I just take a small amount each month, it'd probably blend in. It probably would go under the radar and you probably wouldn't notice it. So that's what the reality of attacks are today. Yes, you're a big company, you still need to have security, you're still targeted, but we're seeing a lot more attacks going after the small to medium, and we're seeing a lot more attacks, what we call the draining attack. They're not going in and emptying the bucket. What they're doing is they're going in and they're putting in a small leak. If you've ever in your house had a small leak, very hard to detect because it's small. a drop here, a drop there, if it's under the sink, you might not notice it for a long time because it's not flooding water. It's not like a pipe broke. It's not immediate. You don't smell it. You don't necessarily see it. So it can go undetected for a long period of time. That's one of the key elements of today's attacks. Low and slow. So we have to be super vigilant. We have to track, monitor, and watch everything we're doing. The trick with small to medium-sized businesses is leverage the power of the cloud. Leverage the power of outsourcing. If you try going in and you're a small business and you're running your own servers, you're running your own security, that's going to be super hard, super difficult, and probably you're not going to have the budget to afford it. But you go in and you use one of these third-party cloud providers that have integrated and embedded security that's built in, ready to go, oh, you're off to the races. So that's what I do. I run a small business. I run many small businesses, and I essentially outsource our security. I outsource our IT now. I still monitor. I still track it. I'm still diligent. I still do training. We don't click on links. We do a lot of other measures. But we need to recognize that if you're a small business, you absolutely can be a target. And we have to pay a lot more attention. And here's the other issue. Cyber attacks of a big company, they usually can survive. We've probably seen over the last year some pretty major cyber attacks of some very large companies. And guess what? They're still in business. Their stock's still doing well. They're still excelling. But if you're a small business and you have a massive cyber attack, it can put you out of business. It could close down shop because you can't afford to be out of data for a week or two. If a small business is hit with a ransomware attack and you can't access your customer data for 5 or 6 days, you very well could go bankrupt. If you lose all your customer data, you could lose credibility. I see this all the time. It's so heartbreaking to me because I care about people and I love small businesses. I'm a small business. My dad ran a small business. I'm a big fan of small businesses. I love them. I support them. I believe everybody at some point in their life should be their own boss. I believe everybody should be an entrepreneur because it's a skill set that you need for life. Now, you might not want to do it long term, but everybody should be given the opportunity. But I've seen small businesses where they've gone in and their clientele database has been captured and exposed, and they lost all credibility in the community. This has happened on multiple occasions where I've seen a doctor. They're a small family practice, and they're in the community, and they've been in business for 15, 20 years. They're trusted. People love them. They've been going there for a long time, and everybody goes to them. They're doing great in business. They're booked out for months and months and months, and they have an amazing business. They didn't protect their server. It was hacked. All their client information was exposed. So now, everybody in the community had all their personal data exposed. All their personal information was given out, and people had identity theft, financial loss, and other issues. They were so mad and frustrated at the doctor and felt that the doctor didn't protect their information. They lost trust in the doctor that they all left. The doctor went out of business and had so much criticism that they actually had to move and go to another state. That's devastating. That's heartbreaking. I mean, those are stories we don't want to hear. A pillar of the community, an amazing medical professional, somebody who's doing an amazing job, but because they were never trained on cybersecurity, they didn't know the dangers, and they were a target, it in essence could ruin and destroy their life. I don't want that to happen to you. I don't want that to happen to anybody that you know. So we need to start better protecting, securing, and recognizing that we are a target and that cybersecurity is your responsibility.